Some of you might be watching this video and thinking to yourself, Jonah, can you please stop talking about iconography? We get it. You like iconography. We've heard enough. But the reality is, no, I'm sorry to my viewers. I cannot stop talking about this subject. I think it's very important. And in this video in particular, I want to really kind of give you insight into why I think this issue is so important, why I take the side of Nicaea II, and why I think it's actually important for living the Christian life and understanding the Christian life and how it is to be lived. And that is really through what I'm calling the iconographic worldview, right? The iconographic worldview. How is it that we see the world, and how are we looking at the world? And within this kind of frame, I want us to just take a moment to recognize that as God created us, He gave us eyes. And these eyes perceive images. That's all that they do, right? The only thing that our eyes do is perceive images. And we perceive the image, we process what the image is, we identify it, and then we act towards it in the proper manner. In my house, I have doors, but I also have walls. And my eyes perceive the walls and they perceive the doors. And so I walk through open doors, but I don't walk into walls, right? My eyes perceive these images, and then I act in accordance with what I see. Same is true out in the world. When I first saw my wife, I perceived that she was a woman, I perceived that she was very beautiful, and I perceived through those images that she was somebody I wanted to pursue, to marry, to have children with, and to spend the rest of my life with, right? I was on a hike not too long ago, and there was a rattlesnake, and I heard the rattle, and I saw the snake, and my instinct was to pull back, to move away from that image. That is a bad image. That is an image I do not want anything to do with. We perceive the world through images, and those images then process in our mind, we identify what they are, and we determine how we are supposed to act as it relates to the particulars of the images that are spread all throughout the world. They have meaning. They tell us something. And we, as we learn more and more about these images, we become more self-aware ourselves and, in a sense, develop into a higher plane. When we're children, we don't necessarily know not to run into a street. We don't necessarily know not to touch a hot stove. But as we grow and as we are taught how we are to relate to these images, we either show them the respect that they deserve by not touching the hot stove, not coming near the rattlesnake, or we recognize them as something that we should be approaching and embracing and cherishing, such as a spouse or a father or a mother. This is just the way that the world is. It's the way that the world is set up. It is the way that God created things to be. And so, as this relates to the church and the life of the church, again, we have to admit, we perceive the world through images. It doesn't matter if you're an iconoclast or not. You are still perceiving the world through images, and you are acting in accordance with your perception of those images. If you go to the lowest of the low Baptist non-denom churches where images are not allowed, they do not have them, they will still have a Bible, they will recognize that Bible, and they will treat it with the proper dignity in which they have perceived, given what their eyes have told them that image is. This is the very Word of God, and therefore I'm going to act towards it with this particular set of values and affections and etc., right? We get it. I'm being redundant at this point. You take another thing, just to tie this more liturgically now. In the church, we have iconography, oftentimes called windows into heaven. On the opposite end, you have what sometimes is called the devil's iconography, something like pornography, right? And in engaging with this, you're in a real sense pursuing a window into hell, right? There's these things that if we do not rightly act towards images, if we act wrongly towards images by venerating pornography, we are going to be putting ourselves in a very dangerous place spiritually. So the same can be then said of iconography in the church. If we are not acting rightly towards that, we are putting ourselves in a dangerous place spiritually. The reality is that because we receive the world through images, through the senses God has given us, our eyes being one of the primary senses in which we perceive everything else around us, it is important to recognize that our eyes understand and perceive images as either those things which we are to honor or things in which we are to dishonor. We would never see somebody in our country who we believe to be an honorable American stepping on an American flag, right? If we saw somebody engaged in that kind of behavior, we would say that is dishonorable behavior. These are all norms and things that we have developed through recognizing and orienting the world with proper hierarchy. So now we take the saints, we take Christ himself, we take the Blessed Mother, and we ask ourselves the question, where do they rank in terms of the images in the world that we perceive, and how ought we to then respond and treat those images? I can tell you, as soon as I was able to, I wanted to kiss my wife, and I did kiss her, right? Because I love this woman. I want to cherish this woman, and so I want to kiss this woman. That is a natural response to the image and the affection that is growing out of knowing who she is, her dignity, her value, especially as it relates to me. Christ is the highest point for all of us. He is the man in which we are seeking to conform our lives to. He is the person in whose godhood we are sharing and participating. And so, when it comes to Christ, he should receive our highest honor. And so when we encounter an image of Christ, when we encounter an icon of Christ, that deserves our highest honor. When we encounter icons of Mary and the rest of the saints, we should recognize in them our destiny. Glorified humanity, humanity participating in Jesus Christ himself, and the honor should be shown. When we perceive things of wickedness, when we have images of debauchery, we should instinctively turn our heads away, refrain from veneration, refrain from honor, and move in a different direction. And every single person on the planet does this every day on small levels, whatever it might be. Whether that be you're walking outside and somebody throws a crude hand gesture in the air and you're with your kids and you shield their eyes and tell them, don't look over there, honey. That is a recognition of a dishonorable image, and it is an appropriate reaction for a parent to divert their children's attention so they do not look upon filth. Likewise, when we see an image that is beautiful like that of a mountain, children, look out the window, look at that mountain. We find that image to be worthy of honor. And these are all on a small level. And it's the exact same logic that flows into the council, right? The exact same logic of the way in which people just are. These are not forced habits. These are not things that people are being compelled to do. This is the natural human reality. This is the way in which we perceive the world, the way in which we act in the world. And iconography is simply the applied logic of this reality taken to the highest level, which is the things of heaven, the things of God, the things of goodness. The holiest place that we can be on planet Earth right now is inside a church surrounded by the communion of saints, looking at the altar on which heaven and earth become united. That is the highest plane of existence for a human being on the planet right now. And so, when we are there, does not the things in that place that are meant to draw our minds to heaven, worthy of the highest honor that we could show? More worthy than an American flag, more worthy than a mountain? And if the answer in your mind is no, or that somehow we shouldn't be honoring those things, but you're making exceptions for all the things we already honor without even thinking about it, then I think you have your priorities misaligned and you're not recognizing the logical pattern of iconography, which is simply to take the way in which humans experience and relate to the world and to elevate that to its highest potential, its highest reality. It is not idolatry to venerate a saint. It is not idolatry to kiss an icon. Those things are forms of honor shown to something that is worthy of the highest honor we could show as human beings. I want my eyes to look upon things that are holy, to disdain that which is evil. And so to have iconography is to intentionally say, Lord, I want to set my eyes always on that which glorifies and honors you. And I want to surround myself with things that no matter where I look, my eyes are drawn to you. That is the role of the saints. That is the role of the Blessed Virgin. They are never ends in and of themselves. They are means to point us higher. And we can say that about everything in the world that is worthy of honor. When we see a mountain, we should never stop there. That should move us and compel us to lift our eyes further up to the maker of the mountain that makes the mountain magnificent enough that we venerate it, that we show honor to it, that we relish in the immensity and the magnitude and the beauty of it. And I will argue with the council that those who refuse to venerate icons, those who refuse to see the world through an iconographic lens, they are robbing themselves of the fullest expression of Christology, and they're robbing themselves of a very basic understanding of the way in which the world works. And as such, if they consciously do that, they are setting themselves up to put themselves outside of the faith. And I say this not because I think that if you don't kiss an icon, you're a heretic. That's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying this because if we do not recognize that the world functions through images, and those images that we perceive are either images we show honor to or show dishonor to, if we don't recognize that basic pattern, then how on earth are we going to be able to, at the very basic level, enter into the life of the Christian faith? I don't think we will be able to. And so iconography was tied to the Christian faith so strongly, and veneration specifically so strongly, not because people think that it's so important that you kiss wood and paint, but that they think it's so important that the natural thing that we do, which is to honor images that are worthy of honor, that we should orient that honor in the highest possible way. And so naturally, they saw those who rejected the veneration of icons as rejecting the honor of the highest possible image and trading it for the honor of lesser images, because we have to honor images no matter what. So those who are iconoclastic, they still venerate images, but they refuse to venerate the highest of the images. And that's why it's so problematic. And so I hope that this video, I hope it wasn't too rambly. This is really the frame in which I view the world. This is the way I understand the world, is recognizing I perceive it through images. And so the higher up the ladder of honorable images that I go, at the very top is iconography of Christ, of the Blessed Mother, and of the saints who have gone before me, because that is the path that I wish to go on myself. That is the path I am on, that I want to finish. I want one day to stand in glory with those saints, to hug them, to kiss them, and to say, I did it. I'm here. I'm with you. And so right now, my participation in that reality is of the utmost importance to me. And I hope, brothers and sisters, that my heart in this is clear, and that it would maybe get your brain moving a little bit to recognize why for some people this is so important. Even if you disagree, at least grasp why this is so important to some people and why this could not possibly be seen as idolatry. It's not idolatry to honor the highest form of image. And so with that, I will talk to you guys in the next video. I appreciate your time. Thank you for putting up with me, and may God bless you.